Hello everybody, how's it doing today? Glowplsma231 here, back again today to talk about the new manga series that we're covering today. But before we get into that, I'm not alone. I have Jaden here with me.
Yep, that's me.
And last time we finished off our series on Fire Punch. We had 4 videos on it, we talked about it, and our results were, we don't care.
Yeah, it sucks.
It wasn't too good. And I made the big distinction of, hey Jade, you know what we're reading next time? Level E. This is a series by Yoshihiro Togashi, the mangaka of such popular series such as Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter. 2 series that you have probably heard about. And then this one you haven't.
Yeah, which we'll get into it, but probably maybe for good reason.
Yeah, it is a very interesting series. And if you hear any crinkling in the background, Jaden is currently playing with Legos this entire time.
I have a bunch of Legos already.
So any you hear is all just Legos that he's got sitting on his table that he barely just sat his notepad on to have all the notes for these. So hopefully that won't be too loud. But Level E, this is a very interesting series because I've got the Wikipedia page pulled up right now, and there's a lot of really interesting things to talk about with it. I mean, this series is a monthly series because it is so weird. It's a monthly series that ran in Shonen Jump itself.
Yeah, and I noticed the page counts are weird as well.
Yeah, this is each chapter, besides like the first few, which are like 70 plus pages each, the rest of these chapters are all about 40 pages.
Yeah. Because
with double page spreads and everything, we have to read this off of Manga Dex, which is a pirate site.
Okay, so you're reading off of Manga Dex?
Yes.
The scans on Manga Dex are terrible. They're so ugly.
Yeah, well, that's also how the manga is drawn.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that the scanning was not done very well.
Yeah, yes and no. Scanlations are a certain beast I don't really want to get into. They're a special sort of thing. And I like to read officials, but this doesn't really have an official.
Oh, you know what we need to read?
What?
I think we need to read JoJo's Part 4, the original scan that they brought to the United States in English. That was terribly translated and terribly scanned. It is one of the most awful pieces of JoJo there is, but it's all people had for Part 4 for years.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
I think that's what we should read next, maybe.
Well, we'll see. But, yeah, this series started its original run on October 2nd, 1995, and ended in January 15th of 1997. It has 3 volumes out, and a very interesting plot. As we talked about last time, pretty much the whole crux of the series is that aliens live on Earth. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. They live on Earth, and they just exist on Earth. Simple as that. And most people don't know about it. But these 2 kids learn after a whole bunch of stuff goes on, right? But
I didn't know that they actually ran the series so late. I thought it was much earlier. So this came before or after the other ones?
Yu Yu Hakusho came out in, let me see, 1990 to 1994.
Okay, so this isn't actually his first work, which I thought it was.
Yes, Yu Yu Hakusho is first. Then we have this, and if I'm not mistaken, Hunter x Hunter. Let me check the dates on Hunter x Hunter here. Hunter x Hunter started in 1998. So Hunter x Hunter started about 4 months after this ended.
Okay.
So take that. Or no, what did I say, 1998? That was about 15 months.
Yeah.
But either way, this is just a really interesting thing. Also, they ran a weekly Shonen Jump, because monthly series typically don't do that. They'll run in one of the other Jump books, but I guess they didn't have those yet.
I don't know. That's something we had to look into.
But you wanna know the craziest thing about this series? It has an anime.
Really?
That came out in 2011.
Does it adapt the whole series?
Yes, it does.
Why didn't I just watch that?
It is 13 episodes that covers it, which I find that to be really crazy.
That's plenty for 3 volumes.
Yeah, but also like we said, these volumes are dense.
Yeah,
with a lot of stuff. But it's just really interesting knowing that it has an anime. It was done by TV Tokyo, Parrot, and guess who animated it?
Bones.
David Productions.
David Productions, who did JoJo's.
And here soon will also be doing Undead Unluck.
Yeah, they also did Fire Force.
Yes, I mean, David Productions is a studio that if they make something, you can normally say it is good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're one of the few studios that, like, even with Maple, people think about them. This series, David normally hits on what they animate.
Yeah, and JoJo's, even though I know Corbin's not really a fan of it, is adapted perfectly. It is a perfect adaptation.
And I know that, and that's why, like, whenever you think of David, you think of JoJo's. I mean, it's just that influential in the space. But yeah, it's just really interesting that, yeah, it has an anime.
What's funny is that JoJo must have been the next project after Level E for them. Because it came out in 2012.
Yeah, when did, 2012? Because, yeah, this was 2011, January 11th, actually, 2011, to April 5th of 2011, 13 episodes. So a whole core, which is pretty interesting. And there's, like, a few more interesting, like, tidbits about it. It's actually called Level E because it was originally supposed to be titled Alien Crises, but the production team, that sort of sucks, right? And Togashi pretty much heard about this movie or watched something recently called Level 4, right? He's like, oh, Level's pretty cool. And he's like, all right, let's name it Level A after aliens, right? But he was like, no, E sounds better because of E.T. So just the way he's got his name is also really interesting.
Yeah, because I was wondering what the name was coming from when I read it.
Yeah, because it doesn't really come up to detail, right?
Yeah, because when you think about it, most manga whenever they have a very popular title or something, it usually explains it pretty fast.
My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
One Piece.
Yep.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, the first episode alone is just weird. It already starts off.
It's bizarre, right? And yeah, with that, that's really all I gotta say about this. All that intro stuff. And now here comes the fun part. Today, this series has 3 volumes. And today, we're covering 1.5 of them.
It's really hard to split 3 volumes into episodes unless we do it all in one shot.
Yeah, and we did that with, for instance, Time Paradox Ghost Star, which ended up being like an hour and 20-minute video. But this series has so much depth into it, we can probably reach an hour just by talking about these 8 chapters we're covering alone.
Yep.
And it has 16 chapters, so 8 chapters. That splits it pretty well. So, with that, I'd say it's time for us to just go and get started talking about the first chapter of Level E. This chapter is titled An Alien on the Planet.
It is, what, like 66 pages?
On Manga Dex. Oh, jeez, my computer's messing up on me since, yeah, we do these with a computer now and not just note pages. Oh, why, computer? So it pretty much starts off with that thing we were talking about earlier with currently several hundred species of aliens inhabit and roam the Earth, and the only ones aware of this are Earthlings.
So, fun fact, we're reading this at the absolute perfect time in terms of current events. Because right now, the U.S. Congress is discussing aliens, and it just reminded me of this.
Oh, boy.
And the whole of aliens are existing, and they're somewhere out there.
So the main, I guess you'd say main character, but it's also not main character. This series is really weird of how it does its characters.
Yeah, because there's so many characters.
Yeah, and like so many of them are just unimportant or like can be called by other names. But our sort of main character, our initial character, is named Tsutsui Yukata. I'm gonna call him Tsutsui for the rest of this. And he is a high schooler who doesn't really seem like a high schooler. Seems like he should be in college.
Yeah.
But it's this really weird thing where he is an Earthling and he is moving into new dorms today. But whenever he goes to his dorm room, there's a man sitting in here.
Okay.
And this man, his name doesn't really get brought up for a while, but his name is Prince Baka, or which pretty much, and the way they say it in this translation is Oji, which means king, or prince. And the other way they say it is that Baka is supposed to be an idiot, so it's supposed to be prince idiot. Ha ha ha.
So, I could have swore for the longest time this is a female character.
Really?
And I'm still convinced that it is. But I guess they just pulled the whole Kurapika thing.
Yeah, good point, because at first you're like, oh, Kurapika's a female, but no, Kurapika's not.
Because this is a very feminine man, if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? So, Prince Baka is pretty much here in Tsutsuy's room, and Tsutsuy's like, who are you? Like, who are you? He acts very gangster-like throughout the series, you'll take note of. And he's like, oh, hey, I'm an alien, alright? But, Tetsui's just like, yeah, no, I'm not dealing with all of this stuff, right? So he starts to kick him out. He comes back in. And it's a big back and forth between the two of them, right? Well, eventually, Tsutsui turns on his television, and there's a sort of thing where a alien pod or UFO has crash landed. And there's this big thing of, oh no, this big alien structure is here. What we're going to do? And there's a whole bunch of people of the press talking about it, right? And eventually, it just evolves until Prince Baka giving Tsutsui a controller of some sorts, right? And he's like, I don't know what this was, but I just sort of found this on the ground, right? And Tsutsui looks and he's like, oh, what's going off here? And he's like, oh, it's a controller of some kind. He starts to press the buttons, and we see through TV, this spaceship just fucking explodes.
Japan's 3 for 3, baby.
God, Jay. So yeah. He sets off this explosion, and there's this big note of television like, oh no, something just terrible has just happened. The UFO has exploded, right? And it's this big thing where Tsutsui is like, oh no, what have I done, right? And as this is all going on, he's freaking out, and we get this very weird panel where all of a sudden, Tsutsui doesn't look like himself. He's got Japanese characters for a face.
Yeah, Japanese characters for a face, which is hilarious.
So if I'm not mistaken, this is called the Hino no Mi, or whatever, something like that, right?
Is that an actual trope?
No, I forgot what it's called. I wrote it down. It's got a name to it. The Hino Mohinji. That's what it was.
Okay.
And so this is, you know about this, right, Jade?
What, the whole like
thing about it?
It's an actual trope.
No, like this face.
No.
So it's something that Japanese school children. It's a little thing for them to learn their hiragana. Is to draw this face with these characters.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the Hino Mohinji.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So like you use your two he symbols to draw eyebrows, your nose to draw eyes, and you use it all in like the G is the face outline.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, just like it's something that children do in Japan to learn their hiragana, and that Togashi sort of wrapped into this series. So
yeah, I mean it is an interesting reference, and it was quite comedic when I first read it, but I never actually knew it had significance.
Because you know a lot more Japanese than I do,
yeah.
And yet somehow I knew about this and you didn't. I find that a little interesting. But as it keeps going on, they just keep talking and yelling at each other. There's this fun dynamic between Tsutsui and Prince Baka, just because they keep going back and forth, and the two of them can't agree. And at this point, as everything's going on, Tsutsui gets a knock on his door, right? As we meet the female character of this series, Miho Edogawa.
Yep.
So Miho is this girl who we pretty much learn, her father is a researcher who works at this whole lab, and we pretty much learned that her father's a very bad person. And we pretty much learned that, alright, Tsutsui and Miho go to the same high school. Yeah, they're probably going to fuck at some point.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how the thing goes, you know? Yeah,
it's like they're both a male and female character who get very close to each other here in the scene of all of these chapters, right? But Tsutsui like, oh man, we go to the same school, this is so awesome, right? And he's like, oh man, she's got such a cute name, right? And we pretty much learned that her dad was on the hill, but he probably wasn't hurt in the explosion, so that just went off.
Because at this point, the alien's like guilt tripping. What's his name?
Yeah, Prince Baka. Yeah, and he's pretty much just blackmailing him. Like he's like, hey, if you don't let me stay here, I'll tell everybody that you blew up the thing back there, right?
And also it's revealed that they have amnesia.
Yes.
Which is a big plot point, because of course they have amnesia.
Oh, of course, yeah. And there's this whole thing where Prince Baka goes up and like hangs up a bunch of stuff on his balcony, like, the truth behind the UFO explosion, right? And he's like, hey, God damn it, come on, like, stop all this, right? And it's going on, I sort of like to notice, like, the culprit is Tsutsui, his high school is. I mean, this is supposed to be a comedy series, right? But we see our man on television, and we see this is Edogawa Ranzo, pretty much Miho's father. So as it all comes on, we learn more about him, and there's a bunch more stuff going on here, and eventually everything's going on here, right? And Tsutsui like, man, I wonder if this guy really is an alien, because he knows so much about it, it almost seems like he could be, right? And he goes to throw him outside, but then Prince Baka appears inside. It's a big back and forth between them, as he pretty much explains that they have a device of mine which is this weird-looking animal thing.
Yeah.
Which is a part something of the UFO.
It has a very strange form to it. It looks weird.
Yeah, and Prince Baka is like, I must get it back, right? And Tsutsui notices that the material on the controller he got earlier is similar, so there's got to be a connection between all of this stuff, right? But eventually, he's just like, hey, you can stay here tonight. It's not that big of a deal, right? And he's like, maybe he is an alien. But Prince Baka is like, all right, I'm going to go and get this thing back. As he jumps off the 5th floor story of where Tsutsuy's apartment is. Mm-hmm. Just jumps off it and is completely fine. Yeah. He just has blood, but he bleeds a different color.
Blue, which is that's very common in a lot of Alien series. The aliens always bleed a different color.
Yeah, and he has blue blood. So that's going on all here, and he eventually also gets run over by a car too, which is just okay. But Tsutsuy's just like, oh man, that idiot, that Prince Baka, I get it. It's funny.
I guess. I mean, it's a pun. It's a good pun in in Japanese.
Japanese, but in English,
we don't really get it.
No, it doesn't translate at all, right? But Baka's like, hey, can I take you up on your offer and rest here till tomorrow morning? He's like, thinking about it now. I actually don't know where this research lab is, so I'll just stay around here, right? And this is when Tsutsui learns, God, he has blue blood. And so pretty much Prince Baka goes in a corner to rest himself. And in a matter of minutes, all of his wounds are all cleared up, right?
Yeah, they kind of heal like they do in Attack on Titan, where they steam out of them. I noticed that.
Does that happen in Attack on Titan? Yeah. I've never seen Attack on Titan.
Whenever a Titan user heals, they always like have steam flying off of them.
There's Titan users? I thought Titans were the thing they're supposed to kill.
Oh, well, I guess that is a major spoiler. Oh, well. You need to watch Attack on Titan eventually.
I don't care.
It's about to be finished.
Or I could just read the manga.
Manga's pretty long.
So? I've read longer.
And I think the anime does the manga justice with animation. It's amazing.
Well, this is about Level 8, a series that we do not know if it shows the thing justice or not, right? But Tsutsui pretty much realizes, like, what have I got myself involved with? I mean, this guy seems to be an alien. And all of a sudden, there's this cat that's suddenly here with him, too. Yeah. Interesting enough. But we see an interesting panel where Tsutsui pretty much covers up Prince Baka and lets him stay there for the night, right?
Yeah, and basically...
And at this point, you're like, this chapter's got to be over by now. Yeah. But it's not.
Yeah, I mean...
It's still got half of it left.
Yeah, and I noticed that, like, Prince Baka has, like, a thing where it's like Faye Valentine from Cowboy Bebop.
Where, another series I've never watched.
Where by reliving kind of, like, things of their life, they can get their memories back. Which is something that they go through.
That sort of seems like the same sort of thing that another character from World Trigger has, Ko Murakami. His sort of powers that... Whenever he sleeps, he takes all that knowledge in and grows stronger from it. So, interesting enough. But we pretty much see Miho's dad is looking at this big device here, right? And he's like, I can't let this fall into evil hands. Right? Well, it's pretty much the morning, and as everything's going on here, Bach's like, oh, hey, I want to take this cat along with me. Like, this sort of sucks. Got run over by a car. I'll go bury it somewhere. Which is like, he had a cat with him. Is this the same cat? Like, what's going on here, right? But as it's all going on, Tsutsuy's outside. And then all of a sudden, Miho walked in. He's like, oh, hey, good morning, Tsutsui-kun. Yeah. And they're already on a first name basis. Okay.
Because I wrote somewhere, like, on chapter 2, how did he get so close with her this fast?
Yeah, like, they are so incredibly close already, right? And he's like, oh, I saw your dad on TV yesterday. And he's like, yeah, I watch it too, but my dad's lying, right? And it's a big thing where she doesn't really trust her dad. She's like, when dad has a difficult look on his face and looks straight at people when he talks, it means that he's got something he wants to hide. Which makes sense. Like, if you're trying to lie to somebody, this may be something that you do. Same thing if, like, blinking or something like that. But it keeps going on to where they keep getting all together, and Prince Baka overhears something about the Conan Research Center. As that's a big thing, and it is now the afternoon as everybody's sort of in Tsutsuy's apartment, right? And he's like, man, where did Baka go, right? At this point, he still doesn't know Baka's name. He's still calling him that guy. I don't think he ever learns Baka's. No, he eventually does. But as he keeps going on, he gets a knock on a door, and there are two salesman-looking people, right? And they say they're from the police station. They hold up a picture of Baka. this guy has murdered someone recently. Long story short, they are from the research center, not from the police station.
Yeah, they're like private investigators.
Yeah, they're researchers, so they're not even private investigators. They're pretty much trying to find Baka because they know that he has something to do with all this alien spaceship and stuff, right? And Tetsui's just like, oh my god, what's going on? In the span of 2 hours, what the hell did Baka do, right? Well, Baka is finally in the room now. He just appears out of nowhere. He's like, hey, that's some fine acting, right? He's like, you have some great criminal potential. And Tetsui's just like, I don't want to hear any of this from you. What did you do? Who did you murder? What happened, right? And he's like, I was the one who's killed us. He lifts up his shirt. There's a gunshot wound in him. And it's this big thing of what's going on, right? But he has his device back. And there's this very important thing to where, hey, there's an image inside this. I can show it to you, but I think I'm following your real eyes and stuff. He's like, I've got some memories, and I thought this may upset you, but I need to show you something. My true identity, as he shows them, and it's this really weird worm-looking creature.
Yeah, it's so disgusting.
As Prince Bach himself molts into it, and it's this really weird, disturbing thing. And Tetsui's just like, what's going on here, right? And Bach's like, do you think it's ugly too? And Tetsui's like, man, to be honest, I was really shocked by this. But he gets our doctor, he's like, man, did those guys come back? No, it's Miho. He's like, oh, hey, Miho-chan! It's like, how are these two this close already? Like, what's going on now, right? And it's pretty much going on to where there's a bunch of stuff about Prince Baka, and this is the typical narration of, he was just a guy who loved cats, and I'm glad he was willing to show me his true appearance. As it all goes on, and Miho sort of walks away saying that she won't blab on Baka, being if that's how the whole series goes on. And Baka comes over and hugs Hisu, and he's like, hey, thank you for not saying all of this stuff, right? And there's this massive joke at the end of the chapter of, that worm thing is actually Baka's pet. Yep. It's not actually Baka. And he said the whole thing of his identity of who he looks like and seems he should be, right? It's this whole thing of like, he's just like, oh, so your name is Clive then, right? And he's like, you can transform. And he's just like, well, you just said that was your own identity. But no, it's a whole joke of, who is this Clive? You are. But no, that's just my identity. This is my pet. Yada, yada, yada. It's a fun enough joke as we finally end chapter 1.
It's a very strange chapter because do you know how much time passes in this chapter alone?
Yeah, gotta be about 2 days.
It's only about 2 days because it's kind of hard to tell when scenes begin and end or in what time frame.
Well, yeah, because the whole thing is that so he gets to his apartment, meets Baka. Baka ends up staying the night, apparently murders somebody during that day. So I'm guessing we're about midday through through the second day.
Yeah. It's an interesting starting chapter.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so weird because it's like, it's so long to read and you're just like, well, I mean, did you have any funny jokes in this chapter?
Not really, no.
Because I definitely think there is some fun to be had.
Yeah. But I think my thing is that most like starting chapters are supposed to give the mood and the idea. I don't get much of that from this. There's an alien, okay.
Yeah.
That's really all we get out of it.
It really is. It's an interesting thing. But also, manga was written really differently in the 90s.
That's true.
Back in the 90s, it wasn't a constant rate. I mean, while it wasn't a constant race for, hey, I need to grab your attention so you'll read this, right? These days, it's crazy to think, like, there are so many things that are fighting for our attention. So if a series doesn't pull you in... Yeah,
and with how competitive Shonen Jump has become, especially now...
I mean, it was still competitive here, but not as much.
But now they really have to impress immediately.
Exactly, and this, like, I guess why a miracle is that Demon Slayer ran so long. The beginning of that series isn't the best.
Well, I think it sets a good precedent.
But you've got to realize by 20 chapters in that series, the only thing Tanjiro has done is cut a rock. And the only reason it was allowed to survive was because the Shonen Jump editorial team was like, hey, we believe the series has what it takes.
Another thing is that maybe the author here already has a reputation for Yu Yu Hakusho, so he's able to take it slower knowing he's guaranteed a couple more chapters.
At least, yeah. That's the thing with Samurai 8, series by the manga of Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto, He ran into a jump, and it was bad, man. I tell you, it was terrible. But it was able to get to 42 chapters just because it's Kishimoto, the guy who wrote Naruto, right? So whenever these authors come back and have street cred to them, street cred,
yeah.
Whenever these authors got street cred, it allows them to run a bit longer. We start off chapter 2 now, and this chapter is titled Run After the Man. Have you noticed these chapter titles? They're like so interesting.
I didn't really pay attention to them, but the cover of this chapter is very weird looking.
Yeah, this front page is really weird.
It's a very bizarre
art style, bizarre adventure, haha. But this is pretty much all. The beginning chapters of this are to introduce our next 3 main characters into it. Most importantly is Captain Kraft, who we pretty much learned that they are aliens, just like Prince Baka is, and they're from the planet Dogra. And we learned that they are the royal guard, and we pretty much learned that Baka is a prince of this kingdom, so they need to get him back. So this is Captain Kraft. We have Sato, who is a newer guard, along with Colin, who is in his first year as a guard. So it's this big thing of, Kraft is very important along with these 2 other guys.
Yep. And really, a lot of this chapter is a lot of space politics.
Yes, this series is oddly a lot of space politics, right?
Yeah, so it's very much reminds me of Star Wars, where they have these like conferences, and it's actually just a bunch of scientific jargon, but we pretend to know what they're thinking.
Oh yeah, by far.
Oh, the shipments they're taking to Kaladin, we'll never stand for this.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a bunch of things like Kraft's like, all right, we need to get Baka back, and we pretty much learned that Baka wants to go places. I mean, just wants to go places to go out and do some stuff, right? That's really the biggest deal out of all of it, is we get a reintroduction to Tsui and Miho. But as it's going on, Tsui's just like, hey Baka, those guys are still looking for you out there. You can't just go off on your own, right? Long story short, he goes off on his own. That's the whole big joke of it. And as they're going around, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff where, like, Miho is, like, holding up Tsui's face and squishing it all together. Like,
again,
it's
2 days.
2 days. Like, what are these 2 doing? Right? But as it's going on, there's this big deal of Miho and Tsuyu are just like, alright, he's probably gone to the UFO crash site. That would make sense. He's an alien after all. We'll go look for him there. As we see that Baka has gone to buy some clothes. And as all of this is going on, we finally cut back to Kraft and his whole little squadron as they go to meet with this sort of older dude, right? Who we'll learn a bit more about later on as it all goes. But this older dude's pretty much like, I see your mothership had an accident. It must have been tough. And it is just so much of space politics, as you said.
It's more space politic jargon. I mean, it really is.
And it's so weird because, like, you get these other 2 kids who look like kids from the Zodiac family of Hunter x Hunter. You can tell it's the same guy. But, like, they're all talking, and, like, these 2 are like, oh, man, are we going to fight with kids from planet Dogra this time? And they're like, no, these 2 are our honored guests. And it pretty much eventually goes to, and he's just like, hey, once people learn about all this crash stuff, it'll be the end of your planet, right? So you need to try to keep it on the down low. And he's pretty much like, but here's the other thing. If this friend of yours has already caused trouble with one of us, your guys should pray that it hasn't happened. Because find your friend and get out, because he will die.
Yep.
So, but oh no, or not Satsui, his Baka has apparently murdered somebody. Would you look at that, right? But pretty much Kraft and his guys are like, all right, we'll take your advice to heart. We'll be leaving now. And this guy sort of starts from like, hey, judging by your aura and the way you move, you guys are military personnel. But just know the people of Earth are trained very well too. I mean, you guys can even speak the Japanese language.
Yeah, they all speak Japanese for some reason.
Yeah, and Kraft is like, hey, you're overestimating us. We're just regular soldiers, right? And they're just like, yeah, this guy isn't a prince. He's just a regular citizen that we need back, right? As they're walking away, Kraft's like, God, this is so bad for us, right? As it keeps going on, they walk outside again, and there's just all these kids here who are still just looking like thugs, like just wanting to beat them up, right? But there's a bunch more space politics just back and forth between them, as we pretty much learned that Colin, the lowest level of these guys, has pretty much found out where Bach has been. It's, of course, with Setsui and Miho, learning that he's been staying in Setsui's apartment. And there's this whole big thing of where Craft's like, all right, we'll just wait for him there, right? And whenever they get back, we'll pretty much ambush him, right? But he's just like, God damn it, that Baka. Like, why is he got to be so stupid about all of this, right? At this point, we cut back over to Setsui and Miho as they're walking around. And there's a lot of this weird stuff to where Miho makes jokes about, yeah, it looks like we're not being followed and tracked right now, which is like, what type of life is she led?
Yeah.
Like, if she knows about, like, yeah, we're not being tailed right now, that's good. It's like, okay, it's another really weird thing about Miho. But as they're going, like, oh, there's a cafe up here, let's drop in to get something, right? But who would be sitting down there but good old Prince Baka? Setsui comes over, like, damn you! And they sort of start fighting a little bit, right? And I do just like how Setsui's just like, fucking hell, we've been wandering all around trying to find you, right? But as all this is going on, Bach is just like, here's the thing, I'm dealing with a very big problem right now. Like, what's going on, right? And he's like, well, I wanted to consult with somebody about all of this, but I need to tell you a story about something that's happened. And he tells this story that sort of relates back to him. That's the whole joke of it. Long story short, we pretty much see that Baka was walking through the streets as he saw a bunch of gangsters all ganging up on this female, and he pretty much went to go, like, defend this girl, but completely got his ass beat while doing it, right? But long story short, he went back and then beat the shit out of these guys and ended up so-called killing one, right? And it's this big deal of where he bested these guys, right? And, but the thing is that Setsui and Miho don't quite understand. So they're like, oh, you did a really good thing here. And then Brock's like, you heard I killed him, right? And they're like, oh, crap.
So real quick, we're on chapter 2 still, right?
Yeah.
I do not remember this.
You don't remember the guy shoved into a trash can?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that now. Okay. Yeah. The guy in a trash can for some reason.
Yep, so this guy's in a trash can, and they pretty much come in, and Bach's like, all right, so what do we do about his body now? And there's this whole big thing of like, just go to the police, right? And it's this big thing as everything is going on, and they eventually arrive back at the apartment where Kraft and his team are there, right? And it's this big thing is where Kraft's like, hey, this is your memory loss. Here's the thing. We have to go to a conference, a peace conference. And we have to be there, and the brightest mind in the galaxy is Prince Baka. He is so incredibly important, but if he has his memories lost, this is a really bad thing. But there's this whole big thing now of, okay, well, even if that's the circumstance, he still killed a man on this planet. What are we going to do, right? And Kraft is like, hey, I don't have much time, so it's just simple. We have to get here. We don't have any other choice in this matter.
Yeah.
So it's this really big thing. And eventually there's just this big thing where Kraft and Setsui just like get in each other's faces. Setsui's really made up to be a gangster in all of this, right? And as it keeps going on, there's this thing here where Baka's like, well, do you guys want to see the dead body? He brought the trash can with him.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah, and he brought the trash can with him. But there's this big thing to where Kraft goes and inspects it, and it's just like, oh yeah, this guy is certainly dead. But there's this big thing. This alien is a Diskin.
Yeah, they do a lot of cool world building here that I liked.
And so pretty much we learned that Diskin isn't a race of aliens, right? Planet Dagra is where Kraft and Bach and all of them come from. But the Diskins are an alien race that are known to murder people out of the wazoo, right? Like, they're like the worst type of alien you could come to face, right? And they pretty much, they've been known to wipe out hundreds of alien species, right? So if an Earthling, quote unquote, dealt with them, they're going to kill the entire planet, right? Well, there's this big thing to where all of a sudden this Diskin jumps out of the trash can and he's still alive, as we learned that Diskins have this special skill that they're able to sort of put their bodies into a death-like state.
Yeah, the fake death, which is pretty cool.
And he's just like, the fact that, or he's just like, I thank my race. The fact that I met these detestable people today. I think the fact that they are not people of this planet, I shall take responsibility for this shameful act for my own death. But I know that there is something I must do before I die. I swear on the honor of my race that I will kill you, as he points to Prince Baka, as he screams, as all of the windows shatter, and everybody's like, those have to be ultrasonic waves, as he jumps out the window and jumps out down to the balcony, pretty much saying that he pretty much let out a broadcast to all the Erdiscans here on Earth to come and help him to kill Prince Baka, right? And there's this big thing here to where we really get the world building on the Discans, which is just a bunch of world building, but it's a very good world building, I think.
Yeah, I think
the world building is very solid here. But as it keeps going on, it's pretty much just like, hey, if all of this is going on, we're going to take you two as hostages, pointing to Setsui and Miho, being like, hey, if they want to mess with us, they're going to start messing with Earth. So we'll use you two as hostages in this situation, which I think was actually a pretty cool move. Just using them as hostages. But we also get the idea that the old man that we saw earlier and all of those guys are all Discans too.
Yeah.
So it's just a big thing to where this old man is like, hey, we'll settle your guys, right? He's just a regular citizen, right? I don't think it's a bad deal if we kill him, Prince Baka. So we're in chapter 2 finally.
So I mean, this is supposed to be a comedy series.
Yeah.
This is some really tense action at this point in the story. I mean, they're really setting up like a pretty big payoff.
Yeah, a really big fight.
But I mean, I don't see where the comedy's going with this, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll just have to see. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, some Shonen Jump comedies hit, and others just don't. And, like, this comedy hasn't really seemed to hit so far. Yeah. So I wonder if it'll pick up later.
Yeah. We definitely need to start blazing through these chapters, man. We're going to be here all day.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I'm so sorry about all this. Chapter 3, Risky Game. So it's pretty much going through. When we look down, we see all these Discans on the ground below. And they all want to kill Prince Baka, and they all know this. And pretty much they get ready to come up and fight. And there's this big thing where everybody's sort of trying to fight everybody else. And there's this big operation going on. But they have that special alien device that has a bunch of information on it. It also has Prince Baka's notebook in it, right?
Yeah. You know what this reminded me of? Our good old D&D campaign we run, where we found the Book of that Dragon that just had a bunch of journal entries in it.
Oh.
It's very similar. I mean, this is a whole, like, 2-page spread.
We'll get there.
Entries.
Well, here's the thing. They're really talking about it, like, man, we have to get this opening because Prince Baka has done a lot of research on the Discans in the past. So if we're going to beat these guys and save Prince Baka, we have to open this thing up. So they're all going through it, and there's this big thing about, oh man, they finally unlocked it. As it's this whole big deal of, well, we'll just have to deal with what Prince Baka thinks of afterwards. But they finally understand everything that's going on as the Discans bust in, right? And they read it. And everybody's like, hey, Captain, look at this data, right? And they're like, oh, crap, before we kill anybody. And they read it, and they're just like, what is this? I can't believe any of this. As it's written all in a very interesting alien language. It looks like almost like that really strange Latin writing from Steel Ball Run.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It nearly looks like that. But it's this whole big deal of what's going on here. Discans finally break in. And they're like, there's nowhere to run or hide. Let's have you hand him over, right? And Kraft is like, hey, you're Rafati-kun, right? He's like, that's enough. This is all over, right? And they speak into Discan language. Now there are guys like, hey, did somebody tell my name? They're like, no. What does he mean that's enough, right? And he's just like, we'll spare Oji in exchange for all of the lives of the three of you, yeah? I wonder how that proposal would have gone down if it was actually made, right? As Discan's like, oh, so you guys have finally figured it out. As he says, as Kraft's like, yes, it was all part of Baka's plot, wasn't it? As Discans are like, ah, damn, they found out about it. Well, I busted through the wall to make a grand injury. Ah, man, this sucks, right? And I even got punched to add realism to the whole thing.
Like, there's some point where somebody breaks through a wall, isn't there?
Yeah, he punches through one.
Yeah, and then they show something later with it, which I think is quite funny.
It's just like, and, oh, yeah, the whole wall, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to that eventually. And it's this whole thing to where the whole joke is that Baka has not lost his memory at all. He planned every single little bit of this. As here on pages 22, 23, there's this big deal of it's just a massive journal entries. It's pretty much just like, did you read all this?
I'm going to be honest with you, I barely skimmed over the journal entries.
I read every single word.
I'm going to be real with you.
So March 27th is pretty much the Baka's like, man, it's already been 2 weeks since we departed our planet, and I've grown tired of playing with Craft and all of them. My whole only hope is for entertainment on Earth. But Craft won't allow us to go. As he goes down, there's this really big joke about how there's a bunch of words that are obviously meant to be slurs and stuff like that, but they're all sort of grayed out and are like unable to translate, right? And as it keeps going, it's like unable to translate, extremely derogatory. Unable to translate, even extremely more derogatory than the other one. And both of those are in reference to Mihal, which is a little interesting. Yeah. But as it keeps going on, it's pretty much that Baka set up this entire plan to crash land on Earth. He met Tsutsui and learned that Tsutsui was a good person, and pretty much the biggest deal out of this is that if he learned that Tsutsui was a bad person, he wasn't going to fight for the rights of Earth. But because Tsutsui is a good person, he's going to fight for the rights of Earth at the big galactic meeting coming up, which I find is very interesting, personally.
I mean, the whole interpersonal relationships between humans and aliens is a very big part of the series.
Yeah.
And figuring out who likes who and what's, the whole, what aliens get along with what.
Yeah, but it's pretty much set up that he talked with the Diskins here on Earth to make them like, hey, do you want to help me play a prank on these guys? And that's pretty much everything that's going on. And we even learned that he went and talked with Dr. Itagawa, and that's how he got the alien device back. It wasn't actually... He actually didn't murder anybody or kill anybody, and they were actually really chill whenever they talked, and pretty much, everything's going on, and this was all Baka's big ploy going on, right? And as everything goes on, we learn that, Baka has all of his memories. He never had memory loss at all. He was just playing the fool the entire time.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of stupid, that they had that the whole time.
Which, I mean, it makes sense knowing who Baka is from these chapters.
Because we do learn enough that this would be kind of the thing that he would be able to do and pull off.
Because the whole thing is Baka is the smartest person in the galaxy. That's the whole joke of it all, right? And there's the whole thing of, oh, you looked through my childhood diary? How could you, right? So it's like, damn you, come on now. But pretty much Crash starts firing off his gun at Baka, just like, ah, damn, I'm just gonna kill you right now. But there's this whole big thing here now about how all the Diskins are like, hey, we never want to harm anybody on Earth. As there's this big thing that we didn't mention earlier, is that Tsutsui is supposed to be a very famous middle school baseball.
Yeah, we never even mentioned that.
Yeah, baseball player. And it's just this whole joke. It's one of those jokes that's just not really enough to point out. But at this point, the Diskins are just like, hey, Tsutsui, we heard you're a really famous baseball player. Can we get your autograph? So this is a little joke here. They never want to harm the Earthlings to begin with. Because we Diskins, our entire race is a bunch of baseball fanatics. We keep track of any and all games, players, whatever, high school, college, amateur, pro.
Yep.
Sure.
And this is mainly because in Japan, baseball is their sport. They love it.
Oh, they love it.
So it's basically equivalent of our football in America.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely love it, right? But it's this big thing is everything just goes on, and it's this big hero distance like, hey, if any of our aliens ever cause you trouble, call us and we'll rush them right away. So, Tsutsui and Miho have made friends. Well, as everything's going on here, we see the old man who is a Diskin was hiding Baka. But as everything goes on, we pretty much see that we cut back to Miho and Tsutsui. As they're just sort of standing here after all this is going on, there's a bunch of bullet holes in the walls and everything's on fire in a way. As everything's going on, they just sit down, and we pretty much learned it, Baka and Craft and all of them, they just left.
Yep.
Simple as that. As we sort of do a little bit of a time skip here to about 3 months later, as it's obvious that Miho and Tsutsui are fucking.
Already at this point?
Oh, well, it's this big thing of where they're just sitting there, and the hole that got punched through the wall now has
with a swinging door.
It's a swinging door, and Tsutsui goes through and is like, hey, big news, I made the starting lineup for a bunch of all this summer stuff going on, right? And he walks in, and he was like, oh, that's awesome, right? And he's like, but there's bad news, too. And she's like, what? And he's like, I got a letter from afar. As we see, it's from Prince Baka, pretty much saying, hey, I had really fun hanging out with you guys. I did a really good passionate speech at this Galactic Conference. It was all really fun, and thank you for just letting me have fun on Earth. I'll drop by for a visit at some point, right? And it's this big thing of, as they end off the chapter, and two of them are sitting together reading this letter, there's a ding-dong on the door as we get notices of the end.
Yep.
That's the end of chapter 3.
Yeah, I mean, these chapters, man, hold double what any other chapter I read normally held.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I really want to talk more about this series, because I do enjoy it enough. It's a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but there's so much, like, we just can't possibly reach anything.
In hindsight, it may have been better to do 3 episodes each on a volume, because these things just have so much.
And you know what? I think we just may do that. We just may need to retcon in the middle of this episode, because there's just so much content here. We now go to chapter number 4, titled From the Darkness.
Yeah, 4 and 5 are very weird.
Yeah, but I actually like, these are probably my favorite chapters.
They're mine as well.
It's just such a different thing. So we pretty much open up with narration going, it's usually the punk kids who see something they're not supposed to. That's because they have the curious ability to sniff out secretive locations. As we see 4 high schoolers, just 4 punks as they're called, Yoshihiro Togashi really likes his punks. Have you noticed that in this series?
Yeah, it might be similar to how both Jotaro and Josuke from JoJo's are the main characters, and they're each like delinquents from their time period.
That's supposed to be a thing?
Yeah.
Really?
That's the whole reason that Josuke has that really ridiculous pompadour haircut.
Huh.
So, that's a whole plot point in the manga.
Josuke's part 3.
Part 4.
Part 4.
Jotaro's part 3.
Jotaro's part 3. I don't know my JoJo's enough to keep debating on here. But we pretty much see that these punks are all hanging around, and while they do have names, they're not really important enough to know. It's just,
I don't remember them.
Yeah, I don't remember. They're just the 4 punks, right? Their names are Ikaraga, Higasho, Yamada, and Noazaki. As they're all here in this cabin, as they're all talking and hanging out on the 2nd floor, and it's this really disheveled place, as they're all sitting here, this body falls into the building. And they're like, oh my god, is that a dead body? That's this person from class 2, right? What's going on? Or it's Yasuda from class D. They're like, she's dead? Oh no. As we see this guy in a baseball cap comes in and just goes, bites her neck, and just eats her completely.
Sucks her up. It's such a weird sequence.
Sucks her blood, lays her down, eats her clothes, eats her flesh, eats her skeleton, eats everything. And it's so, like, he doesn't leave a trace. It's so disheveling as all of these guys get back and they're all, like, freaked out and pretty much get yelled at by their class head. Just like, oh, what are you guys doing? I don't like all this, right? They're sitting here and they're just talking like, should we tell somebody, like, what happened? And like, well, here's the thing. If we tell, they're going to start looking. And this person is obviously part of this group of people. I mean, they look to be our age, so it has to be somebody here in our class. I mean, who is it? But if we tell, then maybe they'll come after us, right? And it's this big thing of, well, we can't tell them. I mean, what are we going to do in this case? And it's this big thing is they just keep talking about it to each other, and they're just like, well, we saw it, so the victim could be one of us for next. We never should be alone, and it's this big deal of who could it be? As they start to call around to all of their classmates saying, like, hey, was anybody in your group, like, gone for, like, an extended period of time or more? And they go about this, call everybody to girls, everything, and it's pretty much come down to about 3 people who are alone for enough time, and who also weren't alone to just, like, piss or something like that. Which, all of this is, like, it's a good mystery, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's written extremely well.
It does a good job of creating intrigue, especially when we get to the doctor guy.
Yeah, and it's like, alright, this is Koriyama from Class B, Hiroshi from Class A, and Yamato from Class A. Who could it be? It's one of those 3, right? As we're talking about it, and everything's going on, it's like, alright guys, we'll see you tomorrow, we'll talk about tomorrow. Well, the next day, Higasho did not come to school. He left his house as usual, and then he just disappeared. One of the guys got eaten. Oh no, what are we going to do about it? As it keeps going on, and they go to meet with some person, Ango-san, who looks like Jesus, because he's got like a cross on his chest.
It's just this weird hippie guy.
Yeah, he's just this weird hippie guy. He's smoking, and he's like, sorry guys, I'm afraid that we'll have to go in a different way from now on. And he's like, hey, seriously, you gotta help us out. You've helped us out before, right? And he's like, what do you want me to do? You've got a pretty good idea about who this guy is, right?
I think that the voice is plenty enough for him.
Do you want me to go monster hunting? I suck at fighting, you know? And it's like, Ago-san, you've got a lot of connections on you. I thought maybe you could help us out, right? And he's like, what I want's an agent's fee. This weed costs so much, I gotta buy more from the dealer. It cost me my foot and my leg last time. This $200 would be perfectly fine.
I'm gonna be honest with you, dog. We're doing a review, not an audiobook.
But he's pretty much like, hey, go visit this place. He's just like, what's there? And he's just like, it's a mental health clinic that's on the verge of folding. And everyone's like, we're telling you, we're perfectly sane. We don't need to go to a mental health clinic, which is a funny joke. But he's just pretty much like, let me finish what I'm saying. Ask the freaky receptionist. When the freaky receptionist asks you which treatment would you like to receive, tell her you'd like the E-course, please.
Oh, so we finally got a title drop.
But no level, it's just the E-course. Right? And the guys are like, and he's like, and that's it after all. It depends on how persuasive you guys are. If they believe you, they'll at least tell you how to deal with your problem. And that's the end of this character for the series.
Thank God.
So they pretty much go to this clinic, and Laser's just like, oh, hey, how's it going? And they pretty much say, we would like the E-course. As they go and meet this doctor. Nope, it's only the three of them because one of them has disappeared. And this doctor's like, welcome. Sit down and make yourselves at home. And he's pretty much like, who introduced you to this place? And they talk about it. And he's like, this person named Sakamoto Ango. And he's like, yeah, you shouldn't hang out with people like that.
Yeah, the mood at this point is pretty creepy, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
They do a good job of creating a good atmosphere.
And it's pretty much just like, do you know him? Like a little back when I was in school. And he's like, I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. I'll inquire about the details of all of your stories afterwards. And they pretty much talk through all of this stuff, right? And the doctor pretty much like, hey, you guys seem like perfectly sane and normal people. Unfortunately, I can't say whether or not what you told me is the truth. But I agree with you, this isn't something we could tell the public. So let me give you some advice. Don't approach any suspicious individuals, especially if you're alone. Always let somebody you trust let you know where you've gone, right? And always be on your toes when you live your everyday life to be perfectly aware that you may still experience encounters, right? Stating the obvious through all of this, right? And everybody's just like, well, those are all really obvious things. I mean, we all understand that, right? And he's like, can't you do anything more to help us? And the doctor's like, hey, at this point in time, it's impossible. The only thing we know about this thing is it can eat one entire human whole. A detailed investigation would be necessary, right? And they're all like, hey, can you please investigate then? And the thing is like, he's like, well, how much can you guys pay? And he's like, everything from here onward isn't just going to be consultation. It's going to be strict business from me to you. Let's say the investigation takes about 1 week. My basic fee's a lot of money.
Absolutely price gouges these guys.
Yeah, and he's like, plus there's a bunch of money here. Because this whole thing where there is so much money, right? But he's pretty much like, hey, this talk is over. And everybody's like, hey, all right, forget it. We're not going to ask you for any more help if you're going to treat us like this, right? But the doctor's just like, hey, that's a wise choice. You guys don't even know if you guys are going to be attacked next. And just to say this right here, like, I know we don't like spoil early, but this is really good foreshadowing, saying that they're not going to get attacked next. It's just really well written. It's like, looking at the probabilities, traffic accidents don't really target people at this point, so why were you guys going to be targeted? And it all just keeps going on as they just keep talking, and eventually, what goes on is that this doctor eventually slips. If this guy's purpose is food, then he'll attack 1 to maybe 2 people a day at most. Just from what I know, there have been 2 to 3 cases in which carriers of diseases that could wipe out the entire human race came to Earth, right? And the guy's like, came to Earth? What is that supposed to mean, right? But Doctor's like, all right, I guess I'll fess up now. He pretty much starts to do a lot of explaining about cohesive class type 2 extraterrestrial life forms. It's a bunch of world building, pretty much, that we get here. Just a crap ton. He just talks about these spirits and just does all of this stuff. And everybody's like, who in the hell are you? He's just like, oh, I'm in Citric. I'll give you my business card just in case. And he gives them the business card. He's like, if the situation worsens, call me at any time. By then, I'm sure your views regarding the value of money will have changed somewhat. Saying, yeah, you guys will pay my prices if you guys get dire enough. Well, as this all keeps going on, we see that a few days later, Ikura disappeared. And this is like, oh no, who knows what happened here? As they eventually go back to see the doctor, and the doctor's like, all right, we'll start investigating. So we end off chapter 4.
Yep.
And go into chapter 5, the crime of nature.
We're definitely going to have to split this into 3
Oh, we will.
So we're going to end on this one, right?
Yeah, we're going to end on this chapter.
Thank God. This is... normally, reading off the thing is fine. But when these chapters are this long, you're basically recalling the whole chapter like, oh.
Oh, and I'm not.
I know, that's the worst part.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, man, this is this series, man.
It's so dense.
You chose a good freaking 4 or 5 volume series if you think about it.
Yeah, but we've got to speed up.
Yeah.
So as it just keeps going on, they just keep talking, and he's like, all right, sign this document, everything's wanted to go on. All right, you guys are all clear. I'll let you guys go up into this room and see everybody. Like, see everybody. As they go into this room. Oh, the other 2 guys are here, right?
Yeah, so they never got eaten.
They never got eaten. They hired this dude to help them out, which is a pretty cool thing, right?
So basically what happened was the guys each individually made the decision to go get the treatment.
Yeah.
And by an effect, they thought that they had got taken, which I thought was pretty neat.
Yeah, because they can't be heard from anybody else, right? And it's this big crazy thing to where they're all talking, and eventually they go into this doctor's laboratory where there's a bunch of really creepy things everywhere, like human heads, human eyes.
They
just
do a very, very good sequence.
Of just a bunch of creatures, and it's just like, yeah, the animals inside this water tank, this guy all planted them, and he even monitors the water quality, and there's just so much stuff, right? And you're just like, this guy was his old man was a biologist, and he had a library at home about a bunch of books. And his son's interest concentrated on UMAs, or unidentified mysterious animals. And he just goes through all of this, right? As we pretty much learn the entire mystery at this point, as the doctor comes in and explains everything, right? Says, I found out who the culprit was and how to deal with him as well. It was Yamamoto from Class A. We pretty much learned that they are a type of alien that pretty much lives in skin bags.
Yeah, they do more strange world building with the description of these aliens.
Yeah, pretty much they live in skin bags, and they lived on a planet that got almost eradicated. I don't remember if it was by the Diskins, but if it was, it's a lot of extra really good world building. But as it keeps going on, he's just like, well, there's only one way to detect them. I mean, they could either be in pretty much a body skin suit, or they could be actually transforming, right? Yeah. Either way, if they're transforming into a human they've already killed, they'll have the fingerprint of somebody who they've already killed. And that fingerprint would be off-kilter, being that they can't replicate everything. Or they're in a skin suit, which means that they don't have a fingerprint at all. Pretty much, he went around to these guys who they did research on, showing that they added to the mystery, right? They did their part in it to get fingerprints, and the fingerprints came up blank. And it's this whole big thing about how this alien race mates through eating females.
Yeah, it's very strange how they do it and whatnot. But basically, during the drought season, they feed while there's not much food. And by eating the egg, it fertilizes it at the same time.
Yes, and the whole thing is that they can't eat a human alien to do, but they still have those desires to do it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how it all works. There's this big, really interesting panel where he's talking with them, and there's just this...
It does like an interview.
It's
I really like the dialogue.
Yeah, and it's just like, are you an Earthling? How about let's read one part of it each? This sounds fun. I'll be the interviewer.
I get to be the alien?
No, you be... I'll be the alien. So, you start off.
Where do I even start? Can you tell me your real name? Nothing. Are you an Earthling?
Nope.
Then what planet did you come from?
The planet Conwell.
How many of you came to Earth?
3 of us.
Why did you come to Earth?
Because our planet exploded.
Are the other 2 your dad and your brother?
Yeah.
Do you know why your planet exploded?
There was a war, that's probably what caused it.
What happened to everyone else?
I think they all died or fled to other planets.
Your mom, too?
My mom died just before she gave birth to me.
What do you mean?
On my planet, men eat women and give birth to children.
As eggs?
Yeah.
Are there times when you feel like eating girls, too?
Yeah.
When do you feel like that?
I don't know how to say it. There's a certain type of girl I want to eat. And even though it's not like I like it anyways, but I just want to eat them. I just feel like this urge to eat them once in a while.
Like 2, 3 times a month?
Yeah.
When did you first start getting these urges?
About a year ago.
And can you resist those urges?
They subside when I take this medicine, but my dad said that the war on our planet was started because of this medicine.
Do you think I could have a bit of that medicine?
No, it's really precious and there's only a little bit left.
If you ate a girl from Earth without taking that medicine, do you think you could give birth to a child?
Probably not, I think.
Why not?
Because Dad was saying it doesn't work with humans either.
So even if you eat girls from Earth, you can't make children?
No.
But the urge to eat girls still doesn't go away?
No, it doesn't.
Won't other kinds of food work as substitutes?
No, even if I fill myself with other food, there's something like in the back of my head that makes me feel like I'm still starving. People on my planet called it the invisible stomach.
And the medicine is a means to satisfy this invisible stomach using the power of science.
Yeah, but on my planet there were people who said that it was against the laws of nature and fought against each other. Dad, he said that maybe we weren't supposed to be born. I mean, I don't really understand how it all works.
And then?
And I sort of understand.
Why?
There's this girl I like and something I get into with these really strong urges to eat her. But I don't want to eat her because I don't know what to do. And when I think about a freak like me who exists, I feel like I'm going to lose my mind. Lately, all I've been thinking about is dying. As we now cut to this guy dead on the ground, as he's obviously dead, as recorder guys is like, all right, that's it. And pretty much, like, from what I understand, he pretty much goes through everything we literally just explained here. Well, we even roleplayed. The first time on my channel roleplay has ever happened.
Awesome, guys. We're really hitting it hard this time.
Right, but as it's all going on, they're all talking, right? And it's pretty much said that he'll lower the fee down a bunch to all of them. And it's a bunch of where everybody's just working on everything, right? And there's this whole big thing of, all right, well, if girls are getting eaten, one of them's going to go check on their girlfriend. Funny enough joke, right? And they're just all talking with each other, right? And as it's all going on, we pretty much ended off with the main guy who we see through all of this is just like, well, what's going on here, right? Well, I'm told even if I want to get hungry, I still need to eat after all of this. We've got work after school as they all go into 2 teams to trail this guy and to pretty much work as these detectives now. As we get the end. As no, it's not the end. This was all a manga that Prince Baka submitted to Shonen Jump.
I thought, okay, so when they showed the end of the chapter, I'm like, okay, cool. And then it showed a self-insert. And again, these pages are too long. I'm like, is this like a chapter extra that what's his name put in? I'm like, okay, maybe this is a chapter extra. Funny. Okay, cool. Oh, it's actual story?
Yeah. I really do enjoy this joke. It's just like, well, you've got to realize these aliens actually exist, and the guy's like, you're just pulling my leg.
The problem is that it's such a good story. It's really interesting.
Oh, yeah, I love the storyline.
It gets wasted in a B plot that makes no sense.
Yeah, I sort of feel like this was just Yoshihiro Togashi pretty much saying, I want to write whatever I want to write, and this is how I'm going to do it. Which I do really like his sort of dedication to coming out and doing that, because... no matter what you say, this was definitely a really fun storyline.
Yeah, but, and that ends volume 1.
Yeah, but the last thing we sort of hear about is Baka is talking to Kraft and the other guys, and he's just like, so about our next plan, the Galactic Crime Federation told us to put in enforcers here on Earth to like help out with people, right? And they're all just like, hey, objection, we would like to begin actually doing this correctly. But the thing is, like, well, how about this? We'll gather 5 elementary school students full of dreams and strong sense of justice and pretty much make a Power Rangers team off of them.
Slave labor.
As we end off then going, why elementary school students? As we finally end the first chapter of Level E.
The first volume.
First volume.
First chapter.
First chapter of our series covering.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess we were going to cover 3 more chapters, but no, we are not. Because my voice is getting tired. We've got places to be. What are your initial thoughts on Level E, really diving deep into it?
So, I think so far it's promising, but I just haven't got enough to really rate it.
I mean, we have read what comes
because
next.
we've had at this point 3 chapters so far, because the other 2 chapters were completely dedicated to this other story.
And that's the thing. It seems like with this series, it is dedicated to other stories. It's the story of Prince Baka.
Yeah.
It's not the story of Tsutsui Miho or even these 4 kids. It's the story of whatever Prince Baka is doing.
Yeah.
And he's sort of the one who's taking over everything. So we sort of see that his introduction arc and now what he gets up to in his free time.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting so far. Based on these chapters, I would give this volume a solid 7 out of 10.
And I really don't blame you.
I think it gives a good start, but I still need more out of this so far, right now.
Yeah, and
also the whole cock block with the chapter that was really cool, ending up being a manga, is fun, but it would have been cooler if it actually held some weight.
But I think it does because it's sort of telling us that yes, in this world where aliens exist, this also could have happened.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is a story that could have been told in this universe. It's not like just some random thing suddenly happening.
Yeah, that is true. So I still give it a 7 out of 10 because it was kind of a stupid pull.
But seriously, I love that joke. So, and that's another thing is like these chapters are so dense. That makes sense why the anime was able to turn this 16-chapter manga.
Yeah.
Which has about 40 pages each chapter into 13 episodes.
Yeah, I wonder how, like, we don't obviously own physical volumes of these. I wonder how thick those volumes are. Or is it just, I mean, each panel has so much in it.
It may just be that it's just such dense of a story.
Because
I don't think, I mean, I don't know if I can sort of look, yeah, so it says right here on the scan, the last page of chapter 5, which was the end of the first volume, was page 199. So it's as big as a regular manga volume. It's just got so much density to it.
Because you remember reading Steel Ball Run. JoJo is pretty sparse whenever they do their fight scenes especially. There's a lot of action, a lot of looking, but not a whole lot of dialogue. You know?
And that was one of the harder things covering that series with just paper and pencil, like we were doing before. Like, obviously, today I have my computer on me, and that's why we went into much more depth on these guys.
But recalling every single one of those scenes where you got to remember what the fight did, you know?
Yeah.
Because the fights in JoJo are very complex.
And that's why I sometimes think like it's easier to cover like a rom-com, because like for Nizuko, it was like, this chapter was this, and you can remember the basic details of it. But we're not talking about that.
Especially when Nizuko had a lot of the same chapters, kind of. Or it covered this trope this time around.
Yeah, which girl this day? So, with that, next time we'll be talking about Level E Volume 2, I guess.
Yeah.
We've already read a bit of it, so we won't have to read as much.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, with that, thank you all for watching. This has been a massive video. I don't really have too much more to say. My voice is getting very gone on me. And with that, we'll see you guys next time for Level E Volume 2. This is Glowplsma 231 and Jaden out.
Yep, see ya.